begs the question, who ordered her to be transferred to the minimum security prison that she was ineligible for? Who signed off on the special privileges? Was it Mr. Blanche? Was it one of your other subordinates? So please, can you tell us who sent her there, since you don't agree she should be there?
I said I do not agree.
Secretarial services. Attorney General Bondi, does a convicted offender like Ghislaine Maxwell deserve special treatment and privileges in prison? Yes or no?
Let me be crystal clear on this. No. And
Thank you.
let me keep going. No, let me keep going.
In that committee hearing, and her lawyer dangled the offer of clemency. Should Donald Trump pardon or commute her sentence? Should she be released from prison? Yes or no? You said you hope she dies there, so I'm hoping the answer is no.
I already answered that question.
Good.
The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from North Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Bondi, I think you and pretty much everybody else here and throughout the country believes that convicted offenders don't deserve special treatment or privileges in prison. And yet Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, received perk after perk in prison. In July, she had a 2-day interview with your deputy and President Trump's former defense attorney, Todd Blanche. Just days after that, Maxwell was transferred from a federal correctional institution in Florida to a minimum security camp in Texas, which she, as a offender, would normally be ineligible for. At this new facility, as the ranking member talked about, and by the way, it's nicknamed Club Fed, we've heard reports that she's been afforded special privileges, puppy time, private workouts, personal mail, secretarial services. Attorney General Bondi, does a convicted offender like Ghislaine Maxwell deserve special treatment and privileges in prison? Yes or no?
Let me be crystal clear on this. No. And
Thank you.
let me keep going. No, let me keep going.
Perfect. Well, I
did not know she was being transferred.
I asked you yes or no.
She was not transferred to a lower
Mr. Chairman,
level.
please stop the clock and remind the witness of the rules. One rule she needs to understand
I'm glad that we're agreeing. So when we're agreeing, we can move on to some other things. But I want you to know that every time she does get these perks, and it's been publicly reported, that the folks she's abused, the survivors who are sitting here, they see themselves as being denied justice. They feel re-traumatized. And I'm glad that we agree on that. But she should not be in that prison. And she needs to be moved back to a maximum security prison as soon as possible. But what she has told another committee here is that she won't cooperate with them unless she gets clemency from Donald Trump. It's just crazy to consider that she can be wielding this kind of influence within the administration.
And this is the moment where the hearing quietly shifts from policy to accountability. Up to this point, the discussion is about prison perks and fairness. But once the timeline is laid out, the interview, the political connections, and then the sudden transfer, the real question becomes unavoidable. Who made the decision? Notice how the pressure builds around a very simple demand for clarity. If Maxwell wasn't eligible for that facility, someone had to authorize the move. That's not speculation. That's basic administrative reality. And yet, instead of a direct answer, the conversation begins drifting toward other topics. When the subject changes right as the key question...
It's just crazy to consider that she can be wielding this kind of influence within the administration. But that begs the question, who ordered her to be transferred to the minimum security prison that she was ineligible for? Who signed off on the special privileges? Was it Mr. Blanche? Was it one of your other subordinates? So please, can you tell us who sent her there, since you don't agree she should be there?
I said I do not agree she should receive special treatment. She was transferred, I learned after the fact, to the same level facility, and that is a question for the Bureau of Prisons. I was not involved in that at all. The same level facility, I don't know why, but You know, instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who hopefully will die in prison, you should be talking about Irina Zarutska,
I have a couple
who
of
died
other
on a
questions.
subway.
Right, and I absolutely...
You don't talk about that.
I have been talking about it and actually helping with these issues. But we're going to move back to you.
I bet we are.
Yes, of course, because you're here to testify. That's what the whole point of this endeavor is. So, of course, we're moving back to you. It is all about you. So, as we've heard, she took the fifth in response to every single question in that committee hearing. And her lawyer dangled the offer of clemency. Should Donald Trump pardon or commute her sentence? Should she be released from prison, yes or no? You said you hope she dies there, so I'm hoping the answer is no.
I already answered that question.
Good. I'm very glad. I really like this bipartisan agreement about
well, when
what
it
should
agrees
happen
with
with
you.
her.
But you don't want to talk about Irina Zarutska. You don't want to talk about
I talk about
murdered
her all
by
the
a
time,
violent crime
but
offender
I am not
in
here
your
to
jurisdiction.
testify before Congress. You are. That is your job today.
You're
That's what you're getting paid for.
obsessed with attack.
belongs-
So
Time belongs to the
I
domain.
want you to know that your own DOJ employee, he's recently been demoted and had some other problems, advises on pardons. Do you think he will be advising Mr. Trump on any kind of clemency or pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell?
I'm not going to speculate, and you couldn't even identify properly. That's why you don't want to talk about Irina Zarutska. You couldn't properly identify her relative.
I absolutely
It's embarrassing.
have been, and her family, by the way, appreciates all of the condolences, all of the help, everything that our law enforcement in North Carolina has been doing to help her family. Her family feels well treated.
What makes this exchange so revealing isn't just the topic. It's the structure of the questioning and the pattern of the answers. Representative Ross didn't come into this hearing throwing accusations. Instead, she built something much more powerful, a timeline. Step by step, she laid out a sequence of events that anyone watching could follow. First, a convicted co-conspirator in one of the most infamous trafficking cases in modern history. Then a private two-day interview with a senior Justice Department figure who also happens to have deep political connections. And almost immediately afterward, a transfer to a minimum security facility that, according to the facts presented, she normally wouldn't qualify for. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a chronology. And when a clear timeline like that is presented, the natural next question becomes obvious. Who made the decision? Notice what happens when that question finally lands. The discussion stops being about whether special treatment is wrong. Everyone agrees it is. Instead, the conversation suddenly becomes about uncertainty. The responsibility shifts downward. The Bureau of Prisons is mentioned. Details become fuzzy, and the person at the top says they learned about the transfer after the fact. Now step back and think about why that moment matters. In any large institution, decisions like a high-profile prison transfer don't happen in a vacuum, especially when the inmate involved is tied to a case that captured global attention. The public expectation is simple. If something unusual happens, someone should be able to explain how and why it happened. But what viewers witnessed here was something different. Not a clear chain of responsibility, but a fog of distance. And that's why the exchange resonates beyond this one hearing. It touches on a much broader concern people have about powerful systems, the sense that when rules apply to ordinary people, they are rigid and unforgiving. But when cases involve individuals connected to wealth, influence, or political power, the system suddenly becomes complicated, bureaucratic, and strangely unable to provide straight answers. Ross's questioning also highlights another critical dimension, the survivors. She brings the focus back repeatedly to the victims who are watching this process unfold. For them, this isn't just about administrative procedure. It's about whether the justice system treats their case with the same seriousness it would treat any other. And that's the emotional core of the entire exchange. Because in the end, the question Ross asked was actually very simple. If a transfer happened that shouldn't have happened, who approved it? Not why someone deserves mercy. Not a debate about policy. Just responsibility. The fact that such a basic question can stretch across an entire hearing without a clear answer is exactly why moments like this capture public attention. So now the conversation moves beyond the hearing room. If a transfer like this occurred, should the Bureau of Prisons publicly explain the decision? Should Congress push further for documentation and accountability? And most importantly, should the public accept "I learned about it later" as a sufficient answer when the stakes involve one of the most high-profile criminal cases in recent history? That's the debate this hearing leaves behind. If you found this breakdown helpful, drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to hear how you interpret this exchange. Do you think this was a simple bureaucratic oversight, or something that deserves deeper investigation? And if you want more clear, fact-driven analysis of moments like this in politics and government, make sure to like the video, share it with someone who follows these issues, and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive.